my thumb.
You might have to push on something to say okay for the recording.
Okay.
So let's just start by, this is Afton Compton. Today is March 10th, 2022, and I'm with Afton Compton Revere England.
Mary Afton.
Mary Afton, I apologize. You're right. Mary Afton Compton Revere England. And just gonna have her share some of her memories. Afton is scheduled for a surgery here in a couple of weeks, and I wanted to make sure we chatted with her before she went into her surgery. So Afton, just tell me any thoughts or memories you have of mom or dad, or anything you want to share.
The first memory I have is in Weiser, and we were there for Thanksgiving or Christmas. I don't know which one. And
so you would, are you talking age 3, age 5, age 8? Any idea what
5,
age?
maybe or younger.
Okay.
But a bunch of us cousins got together and went out on the screen porch and ate all the lemons with salt.
Okay.
And when Grandma went to make the lemon meringue pie for dinner, her lemons were all gone.
Wow.
And she wasn't very happy about that.
Now, was that Grandma Chandler or Grandma Compton?
Yes, Grandma Chandler.
Okay.
Then I don't really remember anything until Toppenish.
Okay, which
I
would be
remember
about
Nancy and I having the measles.
And you were how old at that point?
Not more than 5.
Okay. All right.
Nancy and I both had the measles and had to stay in a dark room. And I remember the piano. I don't remember that, but I remember the kitchen the most. And when I was young, I fell between the coal stove and the table and got caught.
Oh.
And I have a bald spot on my head.
Oh, really?
It burned the hair off my head.
Wow.
Although the rest of my hair is going bald anyway. Anyway, I remember Susie Merrick and her Doc Merrick with her dad and climbing the big tree in their yard.
Okay.
I remember sitting on the cellar door, learning how to tie my shoes.
You say a cellar door, like a root cellar kind of a thing?
Like a root cellar, right?
Okay.
That's in Toppenish. I remember Dad was something to do with the ward in Toppenish, and it was above, like I think, a J.C. Pennie building.
Okay.
And the Elk Lodge met there, or something like that. And we frequently had to clean out the beer cans before we could set up for church.
Wow.
I believe Dad was in the bishopric or something.
Okay.
I remember the house. I could almost tell you what the house plan is.
Well, go ahead.
When you came in the front door, you came into the living room.
And this is Toppenish.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to your left was the piano. And to your right was the couch and a coffee table. And we as kids used to get together and eat ice cream. And we whip it up till it melted to eat it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember the brown boy drowning. He lived across the street from us, and like we went to a stream or a lake or something. Anyway, he drowned.
That's sad. And was he close to your age?
I think it was more like Bruce's and Terry's age.
Okay.
I remember our dog Barney. He was a St. Bernard.
He was named Barney?
Mm-hmm.
Was he big enough for you to ride him like a little horse?
He was a Saint Bernard. He was
Yeah.
big.
They're big dogs.
He eventually went in the service.
Oh,
I remember being raped
okay.
in the garage of a Brother Smith when I was 4.
Yeah, that's a super sad, traumatic thing.
Yes, it was. It made for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I remember happy times, but I can't remember them specifically like Kamillia can.
That's okay.
And I remember when we moved to Yakima, I was in the 1st grade, and they told me I was too slow. They had to put me back in kindergarten.
Oh,
That was quite traumatic for me.
yeah.
I remember a boy sticking his tongue to the flagpole, and that froze on.
Wait, he stuck his what?
His tongue to a flagpole,
Right.
and it froze on. I had to
Oh,
call
it froze
the
on.
ambulance to get it off.
Okay. But you didn't do that, right?
Not me.
Yeah, okay.
The house in Yakima, you came in the front, and there was the living room, and to your right was a grate that was the furnace. And when we were kids, we used to get up and stand on that. We, of course, wore dresses in those days and let the heat go up our dresses to get warm. And
Sounds like that'd be a good idea.
yeah. I remember Kamillia and Carmon dating. It
Okay.
used to go as 5 cents to disappear.
Oh, really?
And we'd go upstairs and look through the grate and watch them on the couch.
So how old were you when they were dating?
I don't know. I was 7 or 8.
Okay. Well, so Kamillia was born in 37, I think. What year were you born?
I was born in 44.
You were born in 44. Okay.
Yeah.
So she was 7 years older than you, if I did the math correctly there real quick. So yeah, if you were 8 years old, she would have been 15 years old, something like that.
It was, yeah, she was dating Carmon. He used
Okay.
to tell us he had a big dog in his trunk that would get us.
Okay.
And I remember, I guess we had a recliner of some kind. And Kamillia and Marcielle would lay on it. We'd comb their hair and make up their faces. And we had a big screened-in porch to the left. And I remember when the house caught on fire.
Oh.
Dad,
so the Yakima house caught on fire.
Yeah, Dad, behind the living room was, I guess, what was Dad's study. And there was a fireplace in it, and he built too big of a fire. And the house caught on fire, and we had to go to the neighbor's house.
Wow.
He was sexually molested me,
Who was?
our neighbor.
Oh, so that you went to a neighbor's house, and when you went over to that house, the neighbor was sexually molested you.
No, he for years he abused me sexually.
Oh.
And I
Okay.
didn't want to go to his house.
Right.
Because of it. Can't remember his name. I want to say Harris, but I don't remember. Anyway, I didn't like him.
Yeah.
Remember the apple orchards that were there? and the blackberry bushes that I fell into learning to ride my bike down Chestnut Hill.
Oh, ouch. I've seen some,
And there was
I've seen some blackberry bushes with some big thorns on them.
yes, that was it. And we had some neighbors that lived behind us. And they tried to get me just to drink tea and things that they knew were against our church.
Right.
And the teenage boy took me in the apple orchard once and tried to sexually molest me. And I ran away. And I had a boyfriend. There was a vacant lot to the right of the house. And we used to go in there and dig holes and play. And one day he hit me with the shovel and chipped my tooth.
Ouch.
I remember the big evergreen tree at the end of the driveway. And we used to play there under that tree. I
Okay.
remember when Marcielle and Mom had polio, and we as kids had what they called pioneer polios, where we got a sugar cube at school.
Oh,
And they gave us a card saying pioneer polio. And I had it for a long time, but it's disappeared. But I think I had a small case of it because I can remember standing in the living room in front of the fireplace, going in circles and saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe.
so the sugar cube was a kind of a
Like a vaccine
vaccine.
like we have now.
Right. Okay.
Mom was always there. She was always pleasant. She was always loving and kind. And Dad wasn't there very much.
Okay.
In Yakima, I dressed up in a fancy dress and went to the Golden Green Ball. And I have a picture, there's a picture of that somewhere. I don't know where, I don't think I have it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that picture.
And because of the sexual abuse I was having, I didn't feel worthy to be baptized until I was 9.
Oh,
I remember painting the porch of that house.
what color did you paint it?
I don't know what color. It seems like it was red.
Wow. Okay.
I remember Mom mostly in the kitchen. That's where I found out there wasn't a Santa Claus.
Oh, okay.
And he brought me Mom and Dad managed to somehow buy me a big doll. And I was so thrilled with it. I'm so happy. Oh, excuse me. And I left it on the kitchen table. And Terry came in the side door and broke it.
Oh,
I think I was mad at him for quite a while.
yeah.
That's about my memories of Yakima.
So
We moved to Spokane, and we moved into a nice house, and that's where Kamillia got married. I remember knocking on the door after Mom told me she got married, trying to wake her up so I could see her rings. But she wasn't there.
right.
I remember school being very difficult. school was always very difficult for me.
Me too. School was, I was not adapted to learn in a classroom.
No, me either. And I know that there was through the orchard and back of us somewhere was a shopping mall. And Bruce's dog followed us there and got ran over.
Oh,
And he wasn't very happy with us.
yeah.
I can't remember the dog's name. It was seems like it was a small dog. I know at one time we had a collie that was like Kamillia says, was very protective of us kids. And one time one of us was going to get in trouble. Mom had taken us into a room and closed the door. And the collie opened the door and came in and saved us.
So that happened with two different dogs, because Kamillia described a different dog much earlier.
But this was Pennie. She was a collie. She was beautiful.
Okay.
Dad's just not really in my memories much.
Okay.
So we lived in Yakima, and then we moved to Spokane, and then we moved out of that nice house to a farmhouse in Dishman.
And that Dishman was
which
close to
still in the Spokane area.
Okay.
And Bruce and Terry had paper routes with a friend. I think his name was Larry. And that's where Chad was born.
Okay.
I was so naive that my neighbor tried to tell me my mom was going to have a baby. I just thought she had a big stomach. So the day Chad was born, and Dad told us we had a new baby brother, we were raising chickens in the basement, baby chickens. I thought he meant one of the baby chickens. And I went down there to find out. And there wasn't any new ones. But before I went to church, I figured it out.
So you don't remember the birth of Nancy or Jaye or Annette. Annette would be.
No, I don't remember any of those.
Okay, that's fine.
Dad's the first one I remember being born, and
okay.
I probably don't remember because I was so naive.
Sure. Yeah, that's.
I remember your birth.
Yeah.
And they asked me to stay home from school that day to mow the lawn, and told me that, I can't remember what they told me, but anyway, when they drove up in the driveway with you, I said, "Oh, thank heavens, another redhead."
Yay.
That was on Rankin Street in Greensboro.
So that wasn't in Colfax.
No, that was in the Greensboro area. I don't think it was called Greensboro, but it was Rankin Street. I remember that. It was a big 2-story house that had lots of cockroaches. And
I laughed because when I was on my mission back there, it seems like I went in so many houses with lots of cockroaches. They were.
Yes, they are prevalent.
Yes.
The missionaries loved to come to our house. Dad was trying to teach them the memory system.
Right.
So the missionaries were very prevalent in our home. And Mom always had a roast for Sunday dinner. She would put it on before we went to church, and we had to drive 20 miles to go to church. But that was in Colfax. And before we got home, it would burn. But at least she tried.
Yeah.
I remember making the jello that she used to make with evaporated milk, where you would whip it and mix it in with the jello.
Right.
In those days, we didn't have electric meters. We had to do it by the hand meter. And I
Right.
remember my arm got really tired
Yeah.
doing it. And I remember that jello I used to make it for my kids. That's where WJ and I were dating.
So how old were you when you moved to North Carolina? When you left the
About
Spokane?
11, I think.
You were about 11 when you went to North
Oh, we went to
Carolina?
South Carolina
Oh, that's
first.
right. You went to South Carolina first.
We lived in several different houses there. We lived in a small house that was across the street from the church. And we all got sick with the flu. And we were so poor, we couldn't go to the doctor. And my fever was so high, I thought I was floating on clouds.
Wow.
And I was hallucinating. And for a long time, it bothered me to lay in bed because I still felt like I was floating on clouds.
Wow.
I remember being in the young women's making hot chocolate with cocoa, sugar, and hot water. They had a picnic area next to the church. That was in South Carolina. That was
Okay.
close to Fort Bragg.
Okay.
Then we moved to, what's the name of that town? I don't know, but it was like a flag lot is nowadays. Our house was behind somebody else's house.
Okay.
And I made friends with the lady in front of us. And she wasn't a well person, she was sick.
Okay.
And the ambulance would come often. Mom didn't like me to go there. There was a creek, we used to, they have all those vines in the South.
Yeah.
We used to take it and swing across the creek.
There was kudzu. I don't know if it was the kudzu vine or not, but on my mission, I remember seeing a lot of kudzu vines.
I don't know what it was. I just knew it was a vine that we had fun swinging across the creek.
Yeah, might have been.
I remember Bruce and it seems like Jaye. Anyway, we also had a hurricane there.
Oh.
And Dad was walking home the time that it hit. It picked him up and dropped him in the forest.
Wow. I never heard that before. How far did it pick him up
I don't
and
know
move him?
how far he went. We used to have such severe thunderstorms that we lived next to a gas station, and so lightning often struck really close, and we would lose our electricity. And I remember Mom having us go around and unplug everything when they would hit.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't blow them out.
Right.
And we had a old wash tub with 2 tubs. That's where we bathed. I think in Dishman or Spokane somewhere. There's a picture of me, and I think it's Annette in that wash tub having fun.
Okay.
We lived across the street from the church.
Now, where are you at?
Across the field.
Are you talking about Dishman or South Carolina? Where are you at?
I'm in South. I don't know where I am.
So in South Carolina, you lived across.
Spokane.
In Spokane, you lived across the street from the church.
And there was a brick wall between us and the field that went to the church.
Okay.
And there were some people that lived in the house behind us. And somehow that's where Dad started raising chickens. I remember them running around with their heads cut off. And not liking it. Anyway, we were on church welfare there for Christmas. There was only 3 toys for all of us. Mine was I had to share it with some of my brothers or sisters. It was one of those where you, what do they call it, where it follows the board and it comes back around. Anyway, it was the only toy
Okay.
3 of us had to share. There was no Christmas tree or anything.
So this is Spokane.
This is, yeah,
Okay, not Dishman, but Spokane.
I don't know.
Okay, Spokane or Dishman.
I get them confused. It was in
Okay.
the, that's where Marcielle dated Ken.
Okay.
I remember her wedding in the Relief Society room at church.
So did she get married before you guys moved back east?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep, she did. But Kamillia and Marcielle didn't like me because I'd always get into their clothes and their bras and things. And there's always telling Mom to punish me for it. But I wanted to be older than I was.
Right.
And in that house, Bruce would walk in his sleep. He lived upstairs and he would walk in his sleep. And Mom would have to take him back upstairs. And he never remembered it.
Yeah, that happened to me a few times growing up.
Happened to me 3 times too. I got in the car and got dressed and waiting to go to a party once. I got my finger shut in the bathroom door in the hinge part of it.
Ouch.
And I lost my fingernail, and for years that fingernail didn't grow very much.
Wow.
Chad was a baby, and it was my job to take care of him. I used to have to rock him in the cradle until he would go to sleep. And the ornery old cuss would wake up the minute I hit the door. I'd have to go back and rock him to sleep again. That's where Terry and Bruce had the paper route.
Right.
I remember it walking to school in really bad snow. And we didn't have boots and things to protect us because we were so poor. One time, all of us and the neighbor kids got together, put a big mound of snow in the front yard and played King on the Hill.
Okay.
You could stay up on top.
Right.
That's where I had my tonsils out. I was really sick. I'd been having tonsillitis for years.
Oh.
And they finally said they were growing together, so I needed to have them taken out. And I had a reaction to the ether. And I had hallucinations for a while afterwards.
Okay.
One day at primary, they were using rubber cement and it smelled like ether.
Oh.
And I went under. I went unconscious.
You passed out, huh?
No, I went unconscious.
Okay.
I was unconscious for days.
Oh, really?
I remember a brother from church came and gave me a blessing. And when I went back to church, I was unconscious. I didn't know he gave me a blessing. When I went back to church, he said, "Do you remember me?" I told him, "Yeah, you're the one that gave me the blessing."
Wow.
But I never saw him give me the blessing. Mom was so busy with all of us kids. Even though Marcielle and Kamillia were gone, there were still a lot of us.
Right.
I remember her canning. And when we moved from Dishman to South Carolina, the mover stole all her canned food.
Oh, no. How rude.
I think it's a little more than rude. Anyway, it was hard on us because Dad was selling a freezer plan where you buy the freezer and you get the food, and we were still not doing well. I don't remember. I remember the flight to South Carolina. I had to take care of Chad on the airplane.
So you flew rather than
Yeah,
drive.
we flew.
Wow.
We didn't have a broken down car. Anyway, eventually we moved to Casey, where we used to swing on those vines. One day, oh, bless you.
Sorry.
One day there was a great vine, but it was like in a square. And Jaye said he saw a bear there. And none of us believed him. And we had wood floors in that house. And Mom used to give us rags, would put the wax down. It was paste wax. She'd give us a rag and we'd slide on the floor to polish it. And one day I was baking a cake when a thunderstorm hit. And it hit so close, I kind of blacked out and dropped the bowl with the cake mix in it.
Wow.
So we moved from there to Columbia. No, I can't remember. I know we lived in several different houses in Columbia. And one of them, I was babysitting and Bruce was at church. And somebody broke into the upstairs of the house.
Oh.
And I was downstairs. And I took all the kids, went to Mom and Dad's room with the phone and called Bruce. When Bruce came, the guy was running from the house.
Wow.
I could have been more than 11 years old then.
Wow.
That's where Terry broke his arm. Nancy broke her arm. Terry used to use his cast against us. He would hit us over the head with it. In those days, casts were heavy.
Yeah. So hang on, I got distracted for just so Terry and who else? Nancy broke their arm?
Yeah. Nancy broke, I don't know how Terry broke his. Nancy broke hers. We were seesawing. And I got off the seesaw and she fell off and broke her arm.
Wow.
I think that was the Graham house. Mom had a good friend, Sister Graham, used to listen to classical music. And her and Mom would go out. Somewhere in there in Casey, I went to a friend's house and she locked me in the bedroom and wouldn't let me out.
Oh.
So I was late getting home. Mom was going to go out and she was so mad at me for being late. She used the belt on me.
Ouch.
That's the last time I remember her getting angry at us. I remember I dropped a coat on the floor in Yakima that was new and which was very unusual to have a new coat.
Right.
Got very upset with me for not taking care of it. And
Yeah.
anyway, then we moved from South Carolina to North Carolina. We moved into this big old house, had all kinds of secret doors and things.
Do you
And
remember
that's where I
all?
met
Do you remember Alden being born?
Seems like I was babysitting the night he was born.
Okay. Anyway, I interrupted you there. You were
That's where I met WJ.
okay.
Sorry, I had to get a tough stuff. Anyway, we lived in that house for a short while, and then they were going to put a clover leaf through, and it was going to take out the house.
Oh,
Then we moved to Rankin Street, and it was a small school, and I got along a little better there.
okay.
I'm only 5 feet tall, and my best friend was a basketball player.
Oh,
We went to the prom with each other. I borrowed a dress and it was strapless. All night I kept fighting that dress to keep it out.
oh,
We had Salisbury steak, which I'd never had before, for our dinner that night. But people were starting to say they didn't believe I had a boyfriend and would make fun of me. In junior high, they wrote in the yearbook, Afton was going to tell a story about all the men in her life.
wow.
I had a wonderful teacher, Miss Helpler, who tried very hard to help me with my math. I would stay after school with her, and Dad would pick me up. And he was always late, of course.
Right.
And I remember one time it was the World Series. I wanted to know who won, but he didn't know. Anyway, the next day I went in for the test and failed it. So that's my story of school.
Right.
That's where they told me I was so slow. I didn't have a class slow enough for me to read. Annette says she remembers these. What are you doing?
Okay, I turned the recording back on. I had to pause it for a minute. So what you were going to say something about junior high?
In junior high, where they were, I was going to write a story about all the men in my life.
Okay. That's
There
what they
were some
said.
really rowdy teenagers on the bus, and they held me down and forced me to read out loud a filthy story.
How rude. That's really
That's where I
sad.
learned some of the bad words I know now. They never seem to go away.
Wow.
Anyway, we moved from Rankin to Colfax, and there we lived across the field from the church.
Right.
And the house was so old. They used to hold Sunday school in it. Sister Snow owned the home, and they held Sunday school in our house before we had a church.
And that's
And
where
that's where my lovely big brothers, Terry and Bruce, making fun of me for having a ping pong ball that WJ gave me. And had these guns, you could put it in and then make it go a long ways. Well, they did that, but they put it on the floor and stepped on it.
I remember those ping pong guns.
And I ran outside and slipped on the grass and broke my right arm, all the bones of my right arm.
Ouch.
I had to have 5 hours of surgery. They called in a doctor that had retired. I had to spend a week in the hospital. I had to wear the cast for 6 months until we moved to Maryland.
Wow. I never heard that story before. That's
Oh, I got the scar. You want to see it?
I believe you. I
I
believe
better
you.
let you go get your clients.
So that was in Colfax? So did you falling on the grass have anything to do with the ping pong gun, or is that separate?
Yes, it did. I was chasing after the ping pong ball,
Oh, okay.
and it was early morning, and it was like Thanksgiving or something. I remember hitting the grass and saying, I broke my arm. And Mom saying she heard it break clear back in the kitchen. And they
Ouch.
wrapped my arm in the magazines and drove me 20 miles to the hospital.
You know, all the injuries that all of the us children had, that had to be so hard on Mom. I mean, my cut arm and your broken, so many broken bones and so many.
I remember
accidents.
when you hurt your arm. I was sitting at the kitchen table. It was like the day after my open house and marrying Tom. And
I didn't
you
know.
and
Wait.
Alden were
It was the day after you married Tom?
the day after my open house. And I was sitting at the kitchen table, and Alden came through the door first. But the screen shut behind him, and you put out your hand and broke through the glass and cut your arm.
Yeah.
Jaye got very upset with me because I got hysterical. And I remember somebody called 911 and they stopped you on the way to the hospital
Right.
and took you to the hospital. And it was in the county hospital because we were so poor we couldn't afford anything else.
Yes.
And I know
didn't
you still have the scar of that.
definitely I have a scar from that. Oh, wow. I'm making notes on what you're saying.
Somewhere in North Carolina, I went to boys camp and the boys were teasing me that I couldn't climb the flagpole. So I did. And then when I got to the top, they started shaking it. And I kind of sort of passed out and slid down it. And the thing they wrapped the chain around punctured my leg. And I was rushed to the hospital from boys camp.
Wow. Okay, well, I need to wrap up here, Afton. It has been delightful to hear your memories, and I really appreciate hearing your view of all of these different family memories. Maybe we can meet again and capture some more. I'm sure you've got more tucked away in there. But for now, I need to let you go, and I got to get to something else.
Okay, thank you, Ardie.
Okay, well, love you, Afton. Thanks so
I love
much.
you,
And
Ardie.
okay, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.